That's great. Thank you. Hello, everybody. So I'm Jean-Baptiste Duclic. I'm a psychologist, and I'm going to talk about this, the way we could use technologies to reconnect with ourselves. So here are the few criticisms among them about these technologies, which are, in massive weapons of distraction. But the paradox is when you see someone looking at his smartphone or YouTube on laptop, it seems very focused, in fact. So these are technologies that are attention grabbers, as Rafael Calvo was talking a few minutes ago, but there are other paradoxes. In fact, these technologies can do tasks or chores at our place, but in fact, we are overwhelmed by other things to do, or well, something to do. We should go faster, but we lack times. We are connected with these technologies, with other people all around the world, but that doesn't prevent us to feel lonely sometimes. And in fact, we've got overwhelmed by things. We are in a society of abundance, but it doesn't prevent us to feel sometimes a feeling of emptiness or meaningless, lack of meaning in our lives. Well, so does that mean that we should unplug? Well, trying to unplug totally has been done by several bloggers, for instance, in the United States. They made the bet to stay disconnected from internet during 1 year, and what happened? You may have heard of it. In fact, they lost contact with other people, they desocialized, and they couldn't use that time given to us to make all the nice projects they had thought of before. So disconnecting completely is not a solution. We may disconnect, unplug, but this complaint about technology, is this really something new? Well, for instance, regarding distraction, in fact, some great thinkers have noticed that we are attracted by distraction from a long time ago. But more recently, in fact, this exhaustion that we feel in front of technology, that we are tired by all these interruptions, SMS, emails, Skypes. In fact, 30 years ago, well, 40 now, so this philosopher Jean Baudrillard was explaining us that it was inherent from this consumer society, because we are in a production systems that in order to buy more and more things pushes us to work a lot, and exposes us to a lot of stimuli. That's why we are overstimulated. So perhaps it's not only our smartphones that creates that feeling, and you know that having a lot of things can let us empty, and this feeling of emptiness is linked also to the consumer society. That's something we could remind of. In fact, we live in a postmodern era, and one of the most famous sociologists, Anthony Giddens, has discovered that reflexivity is something really inherent to being a postmodern man or woman. And we constantly think about the way we are going to find a meaning and to live our life. And is made a link with the notion of narrativity. In fact, we find a sense in our life, a meaning in our ability to construct a story. And in fact, we must integrate everything that happens is this process of building our own story. And it's a work that every postmodern man or woman has to do now. This approach has been also analyzed by another philosopher, McIntyre, who speaks about the narrative quest. In fact, we find unity in our being, because you may know that with these technologies, we have many identities. We are sort of split off in many dimensions in our life: work, family, friends, religion, or something like that. And we must make a real work of finding a unique self. And in fact, this work is what McIntyre calls the narrative quest. And at the end, the fact that we have the feeling that our life is a success or a failure is in our ability to successfully build, tell this story, or to fail in building this story. Another great philosopher, Paul Ricoeur, goes in the same notion and speaks about narrative identity. And in fact, we did not choose to exist. This decision has been made by our parents, so it's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to give meaning to our life. And in fact, what Paul Ricoeur explains us is that we become the co-authors of our life in the part in which we are responsible, I mean in meanings, by working on this narrative and on this narrativity. So, we've got many things, technologies, this feeling of emptiness, and the need to build a story of ourselves. There is a work, and this work is more and more difficult for us to make because we have less and less time. All these distractions, TV, smartphones, emails, distract us from making that work that nobody can make for us. We must build that story, and if somebody else tries to make that for you, there's a lot of chance that you'll be alienated. So as subjects, it is our task, it is our mission, and nobody should find a meaning in your life. So there's sort of confluence with the technology questions. First, I'm going to go rather fast. Here is an article we wrote with Christos Day in the Paritech Review, telling you that first there was broadcasting, which was the first step of technology, one-to-many diffusion broadcasting. Then with email, there was point-to-point communication. And then with Web 2.0, in fact, we went to a new era, the social web, and in fact, it was a communication many-to-many. And then there's sort of back movement that we use technology to change the relationship we have with ourselves, with our bodies, with activity trackers, with our health, and also perhaps with our mood and attitude, and finding meaning in our life. So this any to oneself step is a new kind of technology that's beginning to emerge for a few years now. Another trend is of this switch is that, in fact, social networks are beginning to mutate and go to smaller groups, but with more intimate information connections. And this is why some companies like Snapchat, WhatsApp are taking up Facebook. So, and with this shift and with increased level of intimacy in the side of our social group of reference and the content we share, it raises new expectations, of course. And then, regarding to distraction, of course, there are these studies that show that, for instance, in the United States, I don't have the statistics, but perhaps they intend to forbid smartphone in surgery rooms because there are a lot of problems of surgeons being distracted while operating patients. So there's a need to regain focus. There's a need to construct, to reinforce our narrative identity, and there's the coming of this new type of technologies and the expectation to improve our well-being. So I'm going to show you this project which combines narrativity and technology, and with these ideas of positive technologies. So this is a journal Enerly with a mobile app and a smart device.
Because holding on to life's small pleasures can really give our existence meaning. Because expressing our emotions gives insight into how we feel. Keeping a life journal is an intimate experience that enriches and inspires us. Enerly has reinvented the classic diary. Take it everywhere you go. Record each and every moment. Enrich them with your emotional reactions, an image, a voice demo, a comment, a place.
The idea is simple. It's not sufficient to collect a lot of pictures, data. In fact, we must build a discourse, a story. And for that, we must relieve emotions. It's not enough to store memories. We must engrave them and make the link and the meaning between that. And this will give us inspirations.
Because travel is a collection of unique moments, full of new discoveries, emotions, and encounters. Because thousands of unfiled photos can never convey the full story, the surprise, that love at first sight feeling. Exceptional moments. Enerly enables you to keep a genuine travel log you can plunge right back into, retracing your steps around the world or in a picturesque local region.
This is part of this movement of designing technologies that respect us, that distress us, that inspire calm. So here is Spire, a creation by Moraveji, who works in a Stanford University lab, which name is the Calming Technology Lab. In fact, we all expect this technology to be more respectful. Before, they were designed for productivity, but now we should design them another way. So the question is not building statistic. It's about increasing quality of our life experience. And for instance, in the quantified self, all these activity trackers, you've got all these histograms and percentage and all of that. In our project, we refuse that. So what we imagine is that
it can show how regularly you touch base with yourself. The more regularly you tend to your own secret garden, the more beautifully it will flourish.
And we use this metaphor because our life, our memories, and this work nourishes, nurtures our inner soul. So we've got to use this organic metaphor, and perhaps it's going back to nature, but it's something more interesting and more engaging, involving, that having figures and more figures. So about this expectation about privacy, of course, we have some requirements, and I would say something else. In fact, until now, technology, which was designed for productivity, decreased empathy. But our bet, and it's the bet of people working all around the world in labs or other domains, is that we can reverse the technology to increase empathy. So for instance, what we try to implement.
Because standing united with a loved one or a noble cause is inspiring, gives meaning to our own existence, and can even change the world. By lighting an innerly candle, you can support a cause, an idea, an initiative, or simply show your solidarity and spirit with an emotional moment or tribute.
So, our ambition is to create, to be part of this new species of technologies. New species because the requirements are different. We want to enhance reflexivity. Now, these technologies of distraction drive us away from ourselves. They make us forget who we are, but we can use it the other way. It can help us to build a story. It can induce us peace and not stress us, and it can respect our privacy. So, in conclusion, we may unplug, but we also have inspiration according to our life's goal. Nobody will make that work for us. We must find the time to make that, and our bet is that we can use technology in that mission. Thank you for your attention.